The protests against Wall Street gained new momentum today, with union members and students joining in. A crowd that numbered several thousand or more jammed the rally site, Foley Square. They put up web video showing signs and chants as speakers condemned corporate greed and influence. Organizers also called for college students nationwide to walk out of classes as part of the protest. The NewsHour's economics correspondent Paul Salmon went to the protesters' base camp Tuesday and filed this report on their budding movement and their concerns.
A block away from Freedom Tower, which is literally rising from the ashes of Ground Zero, down the street from the New York Federal Reserve Bank, Zuccotti Park, home to the Occupy Wall Street encampment. We visited to see how its activist denizens were preparing for today's big rally, though we arrived before many of them were up and about. Those already awake told us they'd come from near and far.
I'm from Tampa, Florida. We came up via an underground network of supporters.
I left Colorado Sunday evening.
You left Colorado?
Yes. That's where I live.
So how did you get here?
I flew.
So you've been here from the beginning?
Yes. I came out here from Oakland, California. I've stayed some nights elsewhere. A lot of people have. There's been a lot of generous people offering their apartments for a night and showers to people here.
Nearly 3 weeks after the occupation began, a surprisingly clean, well-organized, and well-stocked community has emerged, with its own library of donated books, plentiful supplies of food — this one's been dubbed the Occupy — even blankets and ponchos from well-wishers nationwide, and a housekeeping and security system that impressed even the New York City police, although, of course, only off camera.
The main purpose of security is making sure everyone's safe and protected.
The goals of the protesters, however, are noticeably less well-organized.
For me personally, child labor, international labor issues were big things, sweatshops.
They should not be even talking about privatizing Medicare. I do not want to be dropped down in airport. I do not want to be scanned. I do not want to give my children bad water. I do not want to feed my children artificial flavors, artificial colors, pesticides, and everything on the shelf. And it goes on and on. I do not want the corporation to really handle my life.
Behind the profit motive, there is the big G, greed. And this greed has become a disease across the planet.
What I've gathered by my very careful and insightful interviews with people is that there is no central message.
And says faux Fox News correspondent Chris Cobb, that's okay.
Groups like the Tea Party are created through messaging, and they're created by being in a boardroom, figuring out how they can finance a political movement and make slogans that are catchy. This movement is absolutely not like that. That's why you don't have everybody on the same page. People came from all over the country to try to figure out something to do. And so their message is they want to provoke discussion about financial injustice.
One frequent theme, though, young people out of work, even with college degrees, but financed by debt.
This is your transmitter?
Yes.
Timothy Grantham blogs the demonstration on Facebook while also running an in-house radio station with a broadcast radius about the size of this park.
You know, I went to school, a lot of these people went to school, and now that we're out for the summer or out completely, there's no jobs. We can't pay them, we can't pay those student loans back, and all we keep hearing from the creditors is we're lazy. We're not doing our part, and it's like we're looking for jobs the best we can. We can't go on unemployment. We're not, the unemploymentable, So
well, you're pre-unemployment.
There you go, yeah. And so we call up unemployment, they just reject us.
A theme heard more frequently from young and old alike. The economic system is being run for the benefit of the few at the expense of the many. David Intrater, who runs his own PR firm, has a professional knack for getting attention.
As Americans, we're about fairness and fair play. That has helped us through these centuries. There's a sense now that things are not fair, that somehow the system is rigged, that certain people have a leg up unfairly and can win, and many, many, many people are forced to lose or not given the chance to compete. And this is not just an unfairness that the young people suffer from. It's something that all people
Anthony Mancusi works nearby, stops in most days on his lunch hour.
I know a lot of people in general have been out of work, for 2-3 years. And they, it's hard to feed their family, make a living. All our jobs are overseas. They corporations, they go overseas to save money because they're crying about labor, right? But meanwhile, they still charge you $70, $80 for a pair of sneakers or a pair of pants or a shirt. And they're paying slave wages over in China or any other country.
But are you less prosperous than you used to be?
Am I less prosperous than I used to be? I was more prosperous 3 years ago than I am the last 2 years.
But perhaps the most universal theme at Occupy Wall Street, at least on day 18, was one famously articulated a few years ago by comedian George Carlin. The American dream, you have to be asleep to believe it. Granted, lots of causes here, but we asked unemployed wine retailer Robert Siegel.
Is one common theme, though, a sense that the American dream is over?
Bingo. I think they get to the front of the chow line and put out their plates, and somebody said, "Sorry, sister, there's nothing here for you," or "Brother, take a hike." Yeah. People are wondering what in the world's down the pike. It doesn't seem like much.
Steve Flicker, now retired, spent his career on Wall Street.
My generation and the people just younger than me, first ones whose children aren't going to have it as good as we had. My father was an automobile mechanic. He couldn't go to college. I went to college. I did quite well. I think that's dissipating, really.
Not that we wanted to put words in his mouth, but we felt obliged to pose the question to at least one member of the younger generation.
You can just signal yes or no, but is the main reason that people are here, do you think, that there's this sense that the American dream is vanished?
That's a really good question, and it's not just about the American dream, it's about the world dream. A lot of us aren't just for America. We're here because there's economic issues that are linked throughout the whole entire world.
There were other highlights. The celebrity sighting of the ever gung-ho Michael Moore.
This is only going to spread, and it's all kinds of people. It's the 99% who've had a boot on their neck by the 1% that occupy these buildings that are surrounding this plaza.
A march on behalf of the beleaguered union workers at Verizon. There were drum circles.
To explode in the house. And we don't need more taxes.
And debate circles.
We need level taxes that have no loopholes.
And throughout, a festive atmosphere that couldn't help remind some observers of the last great explosion of American activism during the age of Aquarius. As for the future of Occupy Wall Street, Rob Siegel at least thinks it's bright.
6,000 and 7,000 is very common in the afternoons. And the big number is on that whiteboard behind you, that 147 different occupation protests across the United States. That was 136 last night. And the night before it was 117. And before that, the night before it was 71. It's accelerating.
Veteran economics reporter Lou Uschitel isn't so sure.
Every time I've seen this before, it hasn't lasted. But I just saw my name. Whether it will this time in this country, I have no idea.
So we can't resist closing with this image and observation. Like so much else in life, the future of this occupation, like the future occupations of so many propelling it, is, you could say, in limbo.
For now, the demonstrations continue to spread to other cities. Tomorrow, a large protest is being planned for Washington, D.C.